Welcome to the interview show. This is Scott Wood, your host. Right now, I'm sitting in the tour van of a band called Pick A Piper. I've got 3 members of the band here in the van with me. I'd love it if you could each introduce yourselves.
My name's Angus.
Angus, what do you do in the band?
Well, I stand around and I sing sometimes, and I press a lot of buttons and some keys.
I'm Dan.
Dan, what do you do in the band?
I sing, I play keyboards, and I control samples and drum once in a while.
I'm Brad, play drums, and I guess handle a lot of the production and back end of everything, and everyone plays drums live.
All right, so Pick A Piper. I'm in your tour van right now, and that's sometimes like being invited into somebody's home because it's where you guys sort of live for a while. So I'd love you guys to talk about one thing you're proud of to show off and one thing you prefer I don't look at.
One thing I'm proud to show off is this cooler, which currently does not smell, which is a big success and step forward in this tour. It's had a lot of days of smelling quite putrid, but it keeps food chilly and delicious.
I'll just make a note that we have not had any ice in the cooler for many, many days.
You're going to have to explain that.
The ice part?
Yeah.
Well, we've been buying bags of ice at gas stations, which tend to have small holes in them, which isn't a big deal when you're taking the ice from the package or for the freezer to your car. But if it's in a cooler, eventually the ice will become liquid, and your cooler will be full of water, and your food will be wet and not cold.
And you get cheese kind of juice everywhere, and meat juice and other juices that you permeate your car, and that's no fun for anyone.
So nobody chose to talk about something that I shouldn't be looking at.
What would that be?
I don't know, it's your van.
There's nothing that you can't look at. It's really not that exciting in here. It's more the smell that you don't want to think about. Hey, this is Brad from Pick A Piper, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.
Hey, this is Dan from Pick A Piper. You're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.
Welcome to The Interview Show. This is Scott Wood, your host. You just heard Cinders and Dust. That's by Pick A Piper. That's off their debut self-titled release. We're all sweating in their van. I would love it if somebody could talk about that track.
Cinders and Dust started as an idea that Brad came up with. I was passed all the material and he asked me to come up with some keyboard melodies and vocal melody. It moved around the structure a little bit, and I don't really have much else to say about it.
I think the cool thing about Cinders and Dust is, so Dan sings with us live now, and he's a great singer, but he literally had never sang before he recorded that song. So I'm like, I know you've got something in you. Can you try a vocal idea for this song? And he came up with an amazing vocal idea, and we subsequently had him singing with us live, and he sings half the songs live. And it's just like hidden talent that came out of nowhere, and we're pretty happy it's here.
Thanks, Brad.
That's a pretty nice compliment.
It is, thank you.
All right, so Pick A Piper. I would love it if somebody could talk about where that name came from.
It's a name I thought up, and it was kind of the only name that I didn't totally hate. Some people are really clever with words, and we're more musicians than wordsmiths, I guess. So that name didn't seem horrible, and we thought, yeah, that's the one.
We also think names kind of lose their literal meaning after a while, and it just becomes us. Instead of choosing pipers, it's just kind of, we are Pick A Piper.
Brad, you are well known as the drummer in a band called Caribou. The lead of Caribou is Dan Snaith. We'll get it out of the way because it's kind of the thing that everybody talks about when they talk about Pick A Piper. I was hoping you could talk about one thing that you particularly admire about Dan that's not super obvious.
He's the most down-to-earth, humble, like genuinely sincere human being I've probably ever met. The most fair and just like, but you would never know, I guess, that kind of thing. He's a genius who doesn't come across as that, I guess. But he's just a really chill, kind of hilarious guy. He literally spends like 8 to 10 hours a day for a full year writing music for that entire time. And he comes up with hundreds of ideas and then whittles them down. And I'm totally an ADD kid who doesn't have that kind of focus. So kudos for that kind of work ethic.
Those are both very nice compliments. I'm sure somewhere out there he's smiling right now. All right, so Pick A Piper. It's a collaborative dance project. Brad is often called the ringleader. I'd love it if you guys could talk about process.
Yeah, I guess because I'm kind of, maybe I have more time on my hands and I'm able to devote more time to music, and I don't have a day job otherwise, which is awesome. But I kind of just work on small rhythmic ideas. Usually it starts out as like a drum loop or some kind of rhythmic idea, and then maybe I've thought of a bass line or a melody, kind of depends. And then I'll come up with a zillion of these little ideas and then bring my favorites to Angus and Dan. And some tracks I'll just work on with Dan, or some I'll just work on with Angus. So it's not like everyone isn't necessarily involved in everything, even though we all give each other input on what we're doing. So yeah, and then I get small little like melodies or bass lines or vocal ideas from those guys, a whole bunch of them. I'll sort of chop them up and structure them and mess with them or whatever, and then usually hit some other roadblock along the way, and then I'll come back to these guys again, get some more ideas, and then kind of keep going with that. And one of the really fun things about this project is actually getting other friends kind of in on the process. There's a whole bunch of guest vocalists on the record and other friends who contributed some melodies or other ideas, and I don't feel the need to confine it to just me or to just us three or whatever. Hey, this is Brad from Pick A Piper, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood. Hey, this is Brad from Pick A Piper, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.
Welcome back to The Interview Show. This is Scott Wood, your host. You just heard Zeneida by Pick A Piper off their self-titled debut release. I'm here in the tour van with the band. We're sweating because it's a hot summer day. I would love it if one of you guys could talk about this track.
Zeneida was an idea I came up with before going on tour myself, and I passed it over to Angus, and I just left for a couple months. And I came back, and he had like a couple of really gorgeous lead lines that we used kind of a detuned harpsichord on, and an amazing vocal line too. And the song was like, that was just the way the song is now is actually just kind of an idea, and we were going to develop it into something bigger, but it just felt right to just keep it this short, sweet kind of little snippet. And our friends Kid Street from Network Records, they sang on it as well.
So I wanted to talk about your live show for a second. Everybody that talks about your live show talks about how you like to improvise a lot. So I was hoping you could talk about a situation where the improvisation worked really great, and one time where maybe you wouldn't do that again.
Everyone plays drums live.
Well, we've been the last song that we play called Rooms. I guess that would be the song that we improvise the most on, and we haven't actually practiced it that often. So as we perform it, sometimes we get ideas about what to do, how to take the mood, that sort of thing, how to shift its energy, I guess you could say. And it only, in my opinion, it doesn't work every time. It's something we're working on, and every time we do it, we learn something, and it just keeps getting better. And sometimes it's better than others, I'd say.
I guess like for that song structurally, it's all about like a slow build. There's a few kind of climax moments in the track, and sometimes we just fail miserably at like building at the right pace, and then or being in sync with those climaxes, I guess. Like Dan's going crazy and I'm not even aware of it, and I'm like waiting because I'm thinking the track's gonna get more insane, and it doesn't. So it's about just listening to each other as much as possible to match those moments. Hey, this is Brad from Pick A Piper, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.
We used to know a century a day ago.
Angus from Pick A Piper, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.
Welcome back to The Interview Show. This is Scott Wood, your host. You just heard All Her Colors by a band called Pick A Piper off their self-titled debut release. I'm sitting here sweating in their van with the band. I would love it if one of you guys could talk about that one.
So for All Her Colors, John Schmerzel did the vocals for that on the album, and he's got a really high voice. And so for live, when we play live, I'm attempting to sing that song, and it's actually really difficult, and I can't hit the notes in the chorus. So I handed the chorus off to Dan, who now does that live. And so it's a work in progress, but it's a difficult song to pull off.
Okay, so Pick A Piper. Your CBC music page says that drum circles are an influence. So I have to ask, outside of Pick A Piper, when was the last time any of you or all of you participated in a drum circle?
I don't know if I've ever actually participated in a real drum circle. Actually, I can't think of any examples.
I think that song "Rooms" that we were just talking about, that idea came from that song because there were a lot of drums in it, and it sounded like a drum circle kind of thing. And but traditionally, we used to do a lot of hand drumming in our music, and
That's right.
And I think that just kind of died off on this album. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever been in a drum circle either.
I think it's kind of unique to have this many percussionists and with this kind of music, so maybe that's something that people focus on. I don't think we're not really trying to be a drum circle type scenario, but it might come across that way, I guess. I mean, that's a lot of drums for one band.
I just asked a question because right now we're outside the Biltmore. We're in East Vancouver, and if you talk to 5 random people on the street, 4 of them have been in a drum circle in a park this summer, or probably this week. So I just wanted to get a moment of you guys outside of the band doing something like that.
Oh, my girlfriend lives in Kensington Market in Toronto, which is hippie central, and a lot of the customers at her store are hippie as well. So we've been hitting up that festival circuit a bunch in the summer. I've been helping her work or DJing or whatever. So to be honest, I've totally been in a bunch of drum circles around like giant bonfires and like no shoes, shirt off, maybe even like a couple loincloths kicking around. But I think my favorite drum circle is the one in Montreal. They have every Sunday all summer, and it can get up to like a couple hundred people. And right next door to that drum circle are a bunch of LARPers, which if you don't know is live action role playing with people have really, really, really intensely like well done fake swords and shields and armor, and they just go for it.
That is an interesting cross-pollination.
Yeah, it's a bit of variety. You get sick of the one, you go to the other. And then if you're in Montreal, it's all about everyone just bags their beers, their liter maximum ice beers, and they go and watch those things all day.
Awesome. All right, at the end of the show, guys, I love it if the band could pick one of their tracks and talk a bit about it as I bring up the music.
I will choose the song Lucid in Fjords, the first track off the album. So that one was almost junked. That song almost didn't see the light of day. It was a couple ideas were put together, but it never worked. The structure never worked, and I just got sick of it and put it away for a year. And I just came back to it kind of one day for some reason, and all of a sudden the structure just made sense. It just totally laid itself out. And Angus came up with an amazing vocal line in that song. I thought that my friend Ryan McFun from the Ruby Sons, a New Zealand sub-pop band, I thought his voice would be perfect for it. So I asked him just to repeat verbatim the vocal lines that Angus did. So of course he sang those parts, and then he came up with a whole other section too. And he just gave it all to me, and he's like, go for it. So Angus's vocal melody occupies the first half, and his the second half, and they work amazingly well together. And it was kind of one of those surprises of collaboration and reaching out to people that something happens that you didn't expect and you couldn't possibly do yourself.
And I want to say, for the record, Brad is wearing a Ruby Sons t-shirt right now.
They're awesome.
All right, so we're going to listen to Lucid in Fjords. That's by the band Pick A Piper off their self-titled debut release. Guys, thank you much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, this is Brad from Pick A Piper, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.